The opinions and comments expressed on this show are a representation of the cast and the cast only. Nothing said on this show is intended to disrespect or offend any one person or group of individuals. We are solely here to talk our shit, and that is what we fully intend to do. This is Talk to Me Nice.
Yo, what's going on, people? Thanks for tuning in. We got a great show for you today. I am your host, CP The Real, and this is Talk to Me Nice. I'm joined here today by my co-host, Poke Fit, aka Chris Polk. We also have a special guest in the building today, a very intelligent and articulate young lady that I've asked to stop by the studio today to share some woman's perspective on a very controversial topic. Please welcome Miss Tavia.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us today. Excited to have you. Glad you made the time to stop by. Shout out to Big Homie. He's not here with us this week. We love you. We miss you. We'll see you next week. As ritual tradition on this show, every week we're going to bring to you a specialty drink of ours. This week's sip of the week is What the Fuck. It's a combination of Fireball and cream soda. This is that cocktail you partake in when you're just experiencing a whole bunch of foolishness in life, things that are happening to you that you can't describe. You go home, pour a glass of What the Fuck, and put your mind at ease. One time for the one time. What the fuck?
Put it up, baby.
Today I have a question that was submitted from a local viewer, Kim out of Grand Prairie. Shout out to GP. Question is, CP The Real, how do we as the black community overcome constant trauma to push the culture forward? Wow, that's a very good, very in-depth question. Personally, I think it starts in better decision making as black people, which essentially puts us into our topic of the day, emotional intelligence. I think that a lot of the situations that happen to us in life, a lot of the situations where we find ourselves being, disadvantaged, we have a direct control. And I think that we sometimes as a black community allow our emotions to get the best of us, and we don't necessarily make the best decisions for the optimal outcome. In my opinion, emotional awareness is broken down into four areas: self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, and relationship management. We're going to go ahead and kick this thing off, man. Tavia, why do you feel it is so difficult for black people to get out of our own way as it pertains to emotional intelligence?
Well, I feel like for one, we're not aware of our emotions. Sometimes personal situations that we've been in life get in our way. We feel like we're not acknowledging why we are in the current state that we're in. For instance, some of us, poverty affects a lot of us, money issues. We don't understand, like, why am I in the current state? Why can't I get out of my little rut that I'm in? So I feel like we have to, one, acknowledge and become aware of what it is that we're doing and what we need to do to move forward.
So you think a lot of the things that I guess we internalize are a result of negative behavior. So if we're not aware of why we're in certain situations, or we don't know how to cope with those personal feelings, you think that results into a negative output?
It 100%, because we're not acknowledging it, and we're focusing on with the issue and not understanding how I got in the issue or predicament. So
What you think, Buffett?
I think honestly, man, that we all choose to be in whatever situation we put ourselves in. And what I mean by that is, when you say emotional intelligence, I think a lot about impulsive behavior. So impulsive behavior meaning there's a time and a place for everything. Meaning that if you get into an argument with somebody, like me, I'm a trainer. So if somebody talks to me a certain way in a session, I have to maintain my composure. I can't act off an impulse and say, like whatever, like just arguing back and being argumentative. I have to, maintain my composure, be professional, and keep it pushing, and talk to them in a certain professional way, and keep it moving throughout the session. So,
And that shit probably happens everywhere though, man. Just out and about, even on the work.
Yeah.
You know, I think in society we're painted, the black community. There's a lot of negative connotations that are associated with us, right?
Yeah.
You know, black people are aggressive. You know,
Right.
we're angry.
We always get categorized as the aggressive
You know what
people.
I mean? So I think that a lot of us feed into that. So when we talk about being self-aware, it's understanding, you know, understanding your feelings, being able to deal with your feelings, but being able to control your emotions to, again, produce the maximum output. Like this, you know, this is chess. You know what I mean? Life is chess. It's not a checker game. So, you know, I think that we need to be mindful again, and I've said this many times, that the same rules don't apply to us, right?
For
So,
sure.
you know, this is a rat race. I feel like I think black people have been put into a box, and you know it's a maze, and it's our job to figure out how to maneuver and make the right decisions to get out of that maze. But a lot of it is systematic, man. I think that a lot of the emotions that we feel every day are attributed to the life and the cards that were dealt. You know what I mean? So I give people the benefit of the doubt for feeling a certain type of way. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that emotional intelligence requires you to ignore anything. You know what I mean? Like we do have a reason to be angry. You know what I mean? We do have a reason to feel a certain type of way about things. But again, being aware is understanding those feelings and then, you know, pushing through that. So social awareness would be just understanding the system. You know what I mean? Like understanding the game that you're playing. Self-management again is understanding yourself, understanding the game that you're playing, and then making the best moves forward. Why do you think that the black community is so receptive to adopt some of the negative stigmas that have been put on us? Like I think that we feed into those things, and I think that we take on those characteristics. Why do you think that is?
Because of the circle we're around.
And also because it's easy.
Right.
I mean, somebody tells you you're never going to be nothing, and they tell you that over and over again, you're going to start believing that.
Right.
But I feel like you have to be aware, like he was saying, it's not the same for us simply because of the color of our skin. And so I feel like once we become aware of that, it doesn't matter if someone tells you you're not going to be nothing. You know exactly what you need to do, and you know exactly, or you're aware of the fact that I have to work harder. I have to have a certain type of decorum because they're going to look at me, especially as a black woman or a black man. Man, he can just pop off at the mouth. He doesn't know how to hold his temper, control his temper. Or as a woman, oh, she's just emotional, or she's just an angry black woman. So I'm aware of that, and so some of the way I react and do things and carry myself, I have to be aware of the way that people are already going to perceive me and try to go against those stigmas that are already placed on me.
That's true.
Facts.
That's true.
All right, so let me play devil's advocate, right? Because I think that, so when I say that we feed into those negative stigmas, I think that we've been somewhat brainwashed to actually believe some of the stuff that's been put on us, right? And I'm guilty of it as well, right? So when, let's talk about, you know, ratchet, ghetto, these terms that are thrown out there, right?
Sure.
You know, those are associated to black people based on a certain behavior, right? But if we see a black person who talks with, you know, perfect diction and is really just, you know, somewhat of a square individual, what we would call it, right? We'd say, oh, that person is acting white,
Yes.
or that person
Yes.
is
Lame.
talking white.
Yes.
And I've always wondered, what does that mean?
What does that
When
mean?
you say somebody's talking white, that means they're talking like they're educated.
So they have common sense.
They have common sense, right? So, and we feed into that stuff. So ask yourself, why is talking white? one talking white is a great thing.
It is.
But why is that associated to white people?
Right.
Like if I talk with diction, if I talk like I spent thousands of dollars on education, I want to sound like I talk white, but I don't want it to be called talk white. Why can't that be he's talking black?
Right.
Why can't, you know, he's talking black? That means he's talking professional. He's talking proper, right? We have these ideas in our head that says, you know, I want to put my kids in an all-white school, or we want to move
prep school.
Yeah.
Or, you know, boarding school. Whatever.
Yeah, or you know, I'm gonna go over there to, you know, the white neighborhood and have a good time, like, you know what I mean? So it's like we get mad at society for, you know, painting a clear delineation between black people and white people, but we help
feed
that.
into
We
it,
feed
yeah.
into it. We feed into it. Why is that? Why do we adopt those things?
Because honestly, it's all about like your surroundings. And what I mean by that is Like when you said people told me when I was a kid, I talked white. I talk with common sense. So
Mm.
I never like
But as a kid, let me ask you this: so when people told you that you talked white, how did you process that? Because you know you're a black man, right?
right.
Mhm.
So when someone's telling you that, did you form a mindset at a young age that okay, this is a white characteristic, or did you say,
I
hey,
saw it as me being myself. I never looked at myself as a white person because I talked white, quote unquote. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
talked with excellence. I talked with great grammar. Because I was raised in a
superb vernacular?
yeah. I was raised in a household where we were forced to talk.
Yeah,
You know,
communicate.
we had to communicate. We had to
And
know
there's
what
an
we were talking
It's
about.
effective communication.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that people need to just really just stop that because it still happens to this day.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, my parents always told me because people told me that obviously.
That you talked white.
Oh yes, and so I would go to school. I never forget. I would go to school saying I'm finna do this, and it was one time we had a parent teacher conference, and my friends were talking. I was like, "What y'all finna do?" I gotta go home, and using all those slang words. And my mother heard me, and she was like, "Miss Harris." And she didn't say call it talking white. She said you need to speak correct
There you go.
English.
There you go.
And so she taught me at that point. So from to your point, I wasn't always saying, "Oh, I want to sound white." I would tell people, "I want to sound correct. I want to
Correct.
talk
Right.
Absolutely.
proper English,"
Right.
because white people get it wrong too.
Absolutely.
So I feel like we
Absolutely.
have to
That's
be
what
the
I'm saying.
ones
Why
to
does it have
stop
to be
that.
white
That's
people?
that's
Yes.
what I'm
Support this
understanding,
conversation too.
and that's that's so it's about just carrying yourself in a proper manner, and
Yes.
there's nothing wrong with that. But I just don't think that
It should be called
attribute should be associated to
solely white
yeah,
people.
solely
Right.
white people.
Mhm.
There's
Right.
plenty of black people in the community that speak well, and when we carry ourselves in a proper manner, right? So
And I
yeah,
don't like it when people tell me, "Oh, you're so," well, not people, but sometimes when a white person tells me I'm articulate, and it's like,
like
well,
why is that a surprise?
Why is
or
that
why is
surprise?
that
Yeah.
like you don't tell little Susie over here that she's articulate?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So why is that something? Does it shock you that I know how to speak in
They put
correct
us in the
English?
category.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I just feel like to your point, we need to stop that. It's not a white thing. It's you speaking correctly.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And our emotions are going to, our emotions, in a sense, shape our perspective on things. The way we feel shapes our perspective. And then our perspective influences our actions. So they're all inclusive, and I think that we just need to understand how they intertwine. But a lot of the things that people do, a lot of the things that people say, or how they view things are based on internal emotions. And I don't think that we take enough time really to process our emotions for the best output. I was having a conversation with a friend a couple weeks ago, and this friend was visiting Dallas and wanted to just go hang out and have a good time, just drinks, bars, or restaurants. And this particular friend, based on what they've heard, they said, "Hey, I want to go to this area because everything is so much nicer out there." I think it was like the Frisco, Plano area,
Oh.
right?
Far north.
Right. And I'm guilty of it too. You know what I mean? Like if I want to go out and about and have a good time, there's certain areas that I like to go to, right?
Mhm.
And I think that those areas in Dallas can be, we can all agree that they're predominantly, white,
Caucasian.
yeah, white areas, right? So that's another big issue that I have, right? So why is it that we have to leave our own community to go have a great time? Why do we say that the Frisco area and the Plano area are just nice areas? Because we have some of those same amenities in the black community. So
Yeah.
my point is, we again continue to feed into that because we tear up our own shit.
Right.
Yeah.
We tear up our own shit. I can go to a McDonald's in Dallas and probably want to walk right back out of the door.
Right.
I can go to a McDonald's in McKinney, Frisco, or Plano and probably eat off the floor.
Right.
Why?
Well, I think it doesn't matter the location because I mean drama happens everywhere. There's black people in Frisco. There's
True.
black people in McKinney, Allen, far north. I just think it's about the choices people make.
Yeah.
And for example, there's this particular spot in Deep Ellum, which is closer to Southern Dallas,
Mhm.
called Bitter Inn. They have Sunday Fun Day brunch, and it's predominantly black people.
Mhm.
And usually in events like that, they might conclude with a gunshot in the air or something like that. But that's not happening anymore. So I feel like people can still stay over here and have a good time as opposed to always going out to cities that are like 30 minutes out, 40
Yeah.
minutes out, just to have a good time and come right back home. They can just go down the street.
I mean, ideally, that's the situation that should happen. You know, I want to be able to hang out and enjoy things in my backyard, but again, it's these stigmas that are tied to certain things. I think that certain people, it's individual specific, right? I think that certain people in certain areas or certain conditions in life have a different emotional state, right? So let's take black on black. You take a black person in South Dallas, you know, their quality of life could be different than another black person in McKinney.
Right.
So both of those individuals, both black, but they're going to process and internalize things completely different because they live two different lives.
Right.
So when it comes to emotional intelligence, you got one person who may or may not allow their situation or circumstances to impact how they view life and how they behave versus someone who may have all the opportunity in the world and make different decisions based on the emotions that they deal with internally. But I don't know. I just like to break these stigmas.
I think we should too, because for instance, I live in like the Glen Heights area, and I will literally make that drive 45 minutes just to go to a Walmart, like, or do certain things. But I think it's about the choices, because if we all as a community and as a people start caring about ourselves, start breaking those stereotypes.
So you're guilty then, right? We're all guilty, right?
I'm guilty.
So
I'll be the first one to say.
So you drive 45 minutes
even to work. Like, there's been opportunities to work closer to home, but I'm like, well, I have certain perks and there's certain things that I like, and just aesthetically it's different in certain areas. But I feel like if we all got together, but I see, like, black businesses popping up that I like try to support and things like that that are closer to home. But still, I don't want a gunshot. I have a child. I don't want him to be scared, and I want to be able to be comfortable where I go. But I think it's the choices we make as a people and as a whole that will make us more comfortable to want to stay closer to home.
Okay.
How have your decisions impacted the decision? How have your emotions impacted the things and the decisions that you've made in life? Obviously, it's a battle. So I don't think anybody at this table has fully mastered, the art of emotional intelligence.
Yeah, we're all learning.
No. Yeah, for sure.
I might have a moment where I might slip up and have like a attitude situation with one of my clients, or with somebody in a public setting. But I have to remember that I think differently now, because I'm a trainer and I'm an entrepreneur and have a brand to protect. So that protects me as far as like, well, let me just stop, let me just chill before I do something.
Yeah, but what about somebody who doesn't have nothing to lose?
Well, I'm not gonna put myself in a situation regardless. I get what you're saying though, but I know me, and I know I'm not gonna put myself in a situation regardless of the situation.
So is it just conscience? I mean, you don't have any methods, you know what I mean? Like, there could be, to any listener out there, there could be, someone that is just getting it, 10 times when they go to work every day and is on the verge of snapping, you know what I mean? So from an emotional intelligence standpoint, how would you suggest that person handle it? You know what I mean? We're here to help people.
I think to just really just chill. Like, it's simple.
Easier said than done.
I mean,
Don't say 1,000 times easier said than done.
But I'm saying it is easy. People just choose to act off an impulse, like I said at the beginning of the show. Because at the end of the day, I can make a decision that might change my life. You can make a decision.
Right.
You can make a decision.
Yeah, but do you think anybody honestly, decisions like that, do you honestly think that people are thinking about, after I do this, I may go to prison for the rest of life? Nobody's thinking about that.
I'm gonna say nobody.
I mean,
I don't. If
say nobody.
I
mean, there's some people out there with some common sense that's like,
Yes.
Just like her. She has a son.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, if she does one wrong thing, it's
exactly. Like, for instance, at my job, I work in corporate America, right? I'm like the only few specks of pepper in the gravy up there, right? And so every day is a constant reminder that I have to be aware that I am the only pepper in the gravy.
Social awareness.
So, with that being said, someone may come up to me, and my boss was singing the lyrics to Good Times. And me, I said, start singing with her. And she said, I knew you would know that.
wow.
Didn't take it offense immediately, but then thinking about it, I was like, did she just? So I could have been like, excuse me, and did all that, but I had to
Choices,
keep
right?
choices.
Choices,
But I had to,
man.
but you have to be
Choices.
aware of that though,
You
because
have
if I
to.
wasn't aware, I
Right.
would have went right upstairs.
Right.
But I also understand that I do have stuff to lose. I do
Right.
have a child, and so that's why every day I go to work, I try to break those stereotypes that are automatically put against me because of the color of my skin and the way I act, the way I speak. I'm conscientious of those things, but I wasn't always like that. I wasn't always like that. I wasn't always aware of the way I was coming across to
Right.
folks. So once I became aware, when you are faced with those situations, you kind of take your step. You try to take a step back and become aware of the bigger picture and not just focus on did she just offend me?
Right.
You have
Right now.
the right now.
Right.
So
I think the biggest challenge is it's going to be never ending for us. That's a battle that we're going to fight every day. You know what I mean? So just over time, man, black people, the black community, like we've experienced so much trauma, historically, and we've only seen the cusp of it.
Right.
Just our age, our generation.
Right.
Like
Our generation.
we've only seen so much of it. So just understanding that, I try to be empathetic, understanding that, trauma, traumatic events. I mean, those are really things that impact people from a, deeply rooted place. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it's hard. I would suggest one thing that I do, and I think I've said this before, is I write down a lot of things. Happy thoughts, sad thoughts, angry thoughts. If y'all was to read some of my notebooks, you might call the police.
But that's good though.
yeah.
Because
Yeah,
you're aware
y'all
of
might
what's
be
going
worried
on.
about me, man.
Yeah.
I say things on paper that I probably would never say
But
out
that's good
out
that you
of.
channel it that way
Yeah.
and not be
Right.
on social media
Right.
saying
Yeah.
F them and
Right.
you
You
know
Yeah.
don't
all
vent. You
that.
don't vent to the crowd. You vent to yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So yeah, writing those things down. So that's just been an outlet of mine, man. But I don't know, just in the spirit of Black History Month and obviously just acknowledging how far we've came and how far we need to go.
Right.
I think that is a pivotal, issue that we have to somehow gain control of. Again, emotional intelligence. It's a wide open topic, and I think it's right now killing the Black community. I think it's destroying us, and I don't know. I don't know how we fix it. I don't know if it's
We gotta
fixable.
stop being against each other.
For sure.
That's the one thing. Stop being against each other. Stop.
Sometimes we're harder on each other than we are on
Right.
other folks.
Right.
You think so?
Mhm.
I know so.
Like look at Gail King. They were just all over her.
There you go. I was just gonna say her.
It's like they all over Gail King, but the lady who called it the L.A. niggers and all that stuff, we done forgot about her. We still on Gail.
Right.
Man.
She said nakers.
Yeah.
Right,
Come on
niggers.
now.
Sure.
Come on now.
All right, so again, devil's advocate,
Okay.
right? I'm in Gail's corner.
I mean, me
Okay.
too.
No, not.
Oh.
This is
Like-
this is for the premise of an example.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
To my
Gotcha.
viewers, no, I absolutely disagree with what she did. But let's sit in Gail's chair, right? So, her approaching Lisa Leslie in that manner, from an emotional intelligence standpoint, where do you think that came from?
Well, okay, from emotional intelligence standpoint, she was probably just trying to ask all the questions, good, bad, and ugly. I don't think she was trying to get at Kobe's character at all, but I do think that she could have asked the question one time, asked one question just so we can cover the bases and moved on. And I really liked the fact that Lisa Leslie kept her decorum. She didn't was like, "Excuse me," she kept her decorum. However, she should have asked that question in a different way, maybe, because I know there was a certain answer she was trying to get out of Lisa, but the snippets that I saw, I was like, man, Kobe been around and that happened a long time ago and it was dropped. So why do we like that negative gem, that one negative thing that he did? Why do we want to harp on that? So I think she should have been more aware of how that would have affected others. And I feel like that's a part of emotional intelligence as well
And
as
social awareness.
yes, and acknowledging how this might feel towards him or you, if I ask a certain question, not just myself, but other people's emotions as well.
No, absolutely. And Lisa did a great job. She's obviously mastered emotional intelligence because her response to those questions was great. But yeah, I mean, I've found myself in situations where I've definitely lost my control, lost my composure. Fortunately, obviously, no three of us sitting at the table have clearly done anything that's going to change our lives. Otherwise, we
Cheers.
you know, I haven't done anything that would make the judge throw the book at me quite yet. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here, man.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's challenging, and I have to empathize with people who have not developed that level of self control. And it's hard to protect individuals of that because of what happens to black people every day in this world. So, all I do is I try to share, strategies and information and gems with people who are younger than me, or people that I see behave in a certain type of way. I'll tell you guys a story. I actually was in Walmart a couple years back with my mother, and it was a group of three black males, young. They had to have been maybe seniors in high school, maybe just graduated high school. We're in the checkout line, and they're just being just belligerent, just completely belligerent, cursing up a storm, just talking about this and that. And I'm with my mom, so my mom's a 50-year-old woman. So I politely interrupted her conversation and asked them to pretty much acknowledge the fact that there was other people around. And oh man, I got it from all different angles from all three of those dudes.
What'd they say?
Oh, what didn't they say? What didn't they say to me? And I, knowing that I was with my mother, knowing that I'm in Walmart, I had to take that one on the chin or whatnot. But there's just a prime example of, again, just the lack thereof social awareness, the lack thereof being able to respond, effectively. And yeah, I got it. I got it. Yeah, right there in the store.
I mean, but it's all about awareness, because there's a time and a place for everything.
True.
So,
but you have to always remember too, like where we are 10 years ago, I wasn't in the same spot, especially emotionally, intelligently, and all that good stuff. I thought differently, and certain things have happened to me in life that have made me become more aware. So when I'm talking to my siblings who are much younger than me, I try to understand, and ask certain questions, because you might not know where they are in life or the things that they're going through while they're acting the way they are. And so once I feel like acknowledge that and come to the realization of that, you can throw that hand out and help them out. But yeah, maybe those guys at Walmart were ready for that at the time.
I don't think they were ready for that. Now, that's a good point. And I think that we lose sight of that. I think that I've personally lost sight of that. You're right. I mean, where I sit today, I haven't always been in this position, right? So I guess it's important when dealing with one another, within the black community, having that level of patience and understanding. Because I guess, in a sense, because where I am today, I guess when I'm talking to people, I subconsciously expect them to be in that same position. But then you gotta look in the mirror like, yo, like CP, you wasn't this way 5 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
For people.
Yeah.
True.
So how you expect this person to be where you at today? So a great point when you say that. I think we're harder on people within the black community.
We gotta
than we are
on our own.
Other people.
But like he said, we can't have those expectations of ourselves. But it's like, I expect you as a black man to have my back, because I'm a black woman. But that may not always happen because we're harder on each other. What's
the difference from a woman's perspective, right? So we're all within the black community, and I think as a race, we're all disadvantaged. But what's the difference between male and female from an emotional intelligence standpoint? Do you think that women battle? You think you guys got it worse?
I wouldn't say that we have it worse, but I would say, obviously as a woman, I'm a lot more emotional than a man is. And so I would say I have to acknowledge that. And I was talking to my mom about this because I'll call her in the morning and I'm all happy and chipper on my way to work. And then by the time I'm like, Mom, I'm tired of going to this job, and I'm like all depressed. And so I have to, acknowledge the fact that I'm a woman and I'm going to have a lot more emotions. You could even look at me wrong and I'm like, what did I do to you? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like from a woman's point of view, we have to be aware. I wouldn't say we have it harder, but we just have to have, I feel like, more awareness because we are emotional. We can take things the wrong way. And sometimes it's just a conversation. You know what I mean? Like, I know you have a girlfriend. So sometimes, like, you could say something and not mean it that way, but we could take it. But being emotionally intelligent enough to be aware of the fact that I am emotional
Mm.
and say, hey, I'm emotional right now. Take it a little easier on me. And so therefore you can probably like talk to her in a more way, not
Yeah,
softer,
talk
but
to her
be
nice, Chris.
there
Yeah,
you go, talk to her
yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
And so, but even like expressing that to people, I don't want it to be, well, man, how are you today? Don't be scared to talk to me, but it's like, as a woman, I have to understand not to take everything so personal,
Mm.
and be aware of all the emotions that I go through probably within an hour.
Adjustments is a big thing
Yes.
about emotional intelligence. It's like you said, knowing those things and knowing the when to make adjustments. So um, it's important that people know that we're not saying disregard your emotions. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you're furious, be furious.
Right.
I've always told people you are entitled to feel the way that you feel. I don't ever suppress my emotions. You know what I mean? If I'm mad, I'm sad. I'm gonna feel that. But again, it goes back to self awareness, understanding the way that I feel, and then making adjustments. I don't think that you have to disregard anything.
Mm-hmm.
I have been upset and I've made adjustments, but 6 hours later, I'm still upset.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like nobody gets a pass. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm still upset. I'm still gonna look at
Mm-hmm.
you, at the corner of my eye, and I'm gonna process all that. Like don't think that emotional intelligence means that we're gonna disregard
Right.
how we feel or
I'm still
disregard.
thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm not gonna disregard the situation that happened to me, but it's just making those adjustments because everything that we do in life is a relationship, and the last aspect of emotional intelligence is relationship management. So it's basically the results of whatever adjustments that you've made. You know what I mean? Something happens to you, you get upset. You've got to conduct yourself in a certain way because what? Because you are trying to manage the end goal relationship. You're an entrepreneur, right? So everything that you do is for the end relationship that you're seeking.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know. To all of our listeners, we know that life is hard, especially here in the Black community. We know that we get it from all angles, and we have a reason to feel the way that we feel, and the Talk to Me Nice cast supports you guys in anything that you guys are going through in life.
100%.
But we just want to make sure that all of us are aware of the position that we're in, and we're doing the best thing possible for ourselves to kind of control the narrative that we paint, moving forward, controlling the decisions that we make because they impact us, they impact our kids, and they're going to impact the generation after us. And a part of being emotionally intelligent is being completely aware of how your actions are going to impact the bigger picture. So, yeah, that's something that we wanted to put out today. Hopefully, anybody that's going through it, you received a gem today to try to process it for the upcoming week. But great discussion. We love you guys as always. Time to transition to the next segment of the show. My favorite segment of the show. Dear Black people, as ritual, tradition again, this is our opportunity to express ourselves directly to the Black community with anything that's on our mind, heart, or our spirit. Ladies first. Tavia, we're going to let you kick it off.
Okay. Dear Black people, I'm going to look at y'all. Dear Black people, um, there's a thin line between complacency and contentment. We have to acknowledge the fact that being complacent means being comfortable in your state, not wanting to improve, not wanting to do better. Contentment is being happy no matter what your circumstances are in life, what the conditions you are currently find yourself in. You're happy, you're satisfied, you're at peace. If you are currently getting assistance right now, food stamps, you stand with somebody, don't look at that as your permanent situation or your circumstances. Keep grinding, keep hustling, and just think about whatever you're going through is temporary. However, you don't have to have the biggest car. You don't have to have the baddest house. You don't have to have the best job in the world. Be content with what you have and find happiness. And remember that nothing ever stays the same.
I like that.
Dope.
I like that.
Dope.
Let me take it. Dear Black people, make some of y'all upset today. Stop being cheap. I I like restaurants, so I like to go out a lot, and The other night, I saw a grown man uh, pretty much demolishing his baby's plate. So I don't know if it was his food or his baby's food. All I know is the baby looked distraught. Baby was hungry. Black people, put your kids first. I've always told myself that I would struggle before my child ever knew what a struggle was. But I think a lot of times in the black community we may lose sight of that. And this is some real talk right now. I hope I don't offend anybody. But if I see you out in public and you're rocking the latest name brand things, and your kid is looking like you picked him up on a bus stop somewhere, I have a problem with that.
It don't match.
I have a problem with that. I will wear Jesus slippers before I let my son look any kind of way. So as a parent, black community, I know that certain things are important to us, branding and things like that. But I would say put your kids first. I know we all like nice things, but put your kids first, because those type of things are noticeable. And I would hate for somebody to look at me and my son out in public and have a concern as to the level of attention that I pay my child. So we see these things. I see these things. Black people, I'm looking at you everywhere I go. So put your kids first. Stop being cheap, and adjust your priorities.
Dear black people, it's kind of similar to Octavia. She happened to take mine, but we ain't gonna talk about it. But dear black people, know your worth. Know that you're enough. Stop settling because your friend is doing this, so you got to feel like you got to stay in the same ranking as this person. Be better than that person. Sharpen each other. It's not a competition. It's all about just wanting to be the best version of you in every aspect. And what I mean by that is, like I said, like she said, stop being complacent. Stop wanting to just be in the mix. Like, no, be the best version of yourself. If you know you can be better than somebody, then be better than that person. Because at the end of the day, this person might be looking up to you and might want to be better than you too. So, yeah, that's my dear black people. Short and sweet. Short and sweet.
Was that short and sweet?
It was short and sweet. Because y'all was like about a minute. Mine was about like, what, 30
I was
seconds?
trying to be short and sweet.
Short and sweet. It was short and sweet.
Nah,
Straight to it. Straight to the point.
Straight to the point. But nah, we love you guys, man. We hope you guys are enjoying the show. We're starting to get some viewer input on the show, some viewer feedback. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. We always welcome comments, topic suggestions, anything that you want the Talk to Me Nice cast to address publicly. Feel free to drop a line. Like I said, we're on streaming platforms. Please go out there, listen, subscribe, and share with a friend. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We appreciate it. We're going to go around the room and give our credentials to where you guys can find us.
I'll start off. Okay. All right. My Instagram is PokeFit, POLKFIT. Facebook, Chris Polk, CHRISPOLK. And internet browser.
You say that every week as if you forget.
Internet browser, internet website, whatever you want to call it, www.pokefit.net.
You forget you have a website sometimes?
Sometimes.
Jesus.
I'll be really on Instagram and Facebook.
Jesus Christ.
If you guys want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Artavia, and that's ART.A.VIA. Follow me on Facebook if you want, Artavia Rochelle. Thank you.
Shout out to everybody's favorite big homie, Mr. Von Solo. Again, he's not here with us today, but he will rejoin us next week. But you guys can catch him at Big Von 78 on IG. Last but not least, myself, you can catch me on Instagram, CP_the real, one word. Again, CP_the real, one word. As usual, guys, we're going to continue to talk our shit because talking shit makes us feel good. We hope you continue to talk yours.
Cheers.
One time for the one time. We out.